Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys. We want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, today we're going to be talking about this situation between Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. As y'all know, when the Brooklyn Nets were originally formed, we're talking about the trio of James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. Most people in the NBA and NBA fans were saying that this is probably the scariest offensive trio we've ever seen in the NBA. We had never seen three offensive powerhouses like that on one team. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And in fact, that Brooklyn Nets big three at one point were averaging over 75 points together. Three guys were generating 75 points as a team. To me, it was absolutely scary. At the time, I was supporting the Clippers, and I'm like, man, you know, I remember the first time the Clippers played against the Brooklyn Nets, and I was like, they played them perfectly, and then with 2-3 minutes left in the game, it was just like Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and the game was over. I'm like, there's no way you can guard this, right? How do you stop these three guys on one team? But one of the things I thought about that team at the time was I had a feeling that something was just going to derail them. Something ultimately was going to derail them, and it was going to be something that came from within, an internal issue. And then as it turned out, the Brooklyn Nets absolutely imploded. They went from an organization that had Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant to now being an organization left with Ben Simmons. That's how far the Brooklyn Nets have fallen. As y'all know, at the trade deadline, we saw some pretty serious movement. We saw Kyrie Irving go from the Brooklyn Nets to go join Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. In Dallas there to go play with them. And then the biggest move of them all was seeing Kevin Durant get traded from the Brooklyn Nets, the same Brooklyn Nets, to go join the Phoenix Suns. So over the weekend, there was this big marquee game, which was one of the best games this entire season. And everyone going into that game was anticipating how Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were going to interact. But just because the game, but as a matter of fact, at the end of it, the game ended up being so good and so action packed, and it was an absolute thriller that came all the way down to the wire, that we ended up spending more time talking about the game itself than the backstory of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But just yesterday, Brian Windhorst of ESPN revealed that, in fact, the relationship of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is no longer a relationship anymore. But before we get into his comments, this video is brought to you by sponsor Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the T-Wolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura, by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is we want to play what the reporting that Brian Windhorst had to make about, you know, the relationship, or the collapse rather, between Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then we're going to come back and react to it. So take a listen to what Brian had to say here.
So I want to switch gears here for a second. KD and Kyrie facing for the first time since leaving Brooklyn. What'd you see from them at the game?
Nothing. There was nothing between them. And I know KD said last week that, they haven't talked. Well, I can tell you, they still haven't talked. And they sure as heck didn't talk during the game yesterday. And look, there were times when the cameras were not on national TV, when they were in break, where they were standing a foot from each other and they were not looking at each other. The game ended and you had Kevin Durant hugging Markieff Morris, his Nets teammate from a couple of weeks ago, and not even looking to Kyrie Irving in a very hot-tempered game. Look, you had these two teams, Durant and Kyrie, are new to them, but this is bad blood from the playoffs last year. You got Booker going up into Luka Doncic's chest in the closing moments of that game, shot making down the stretch. There was a lot going on, and KD and Kyrie, nothing there. And I got to say, when you take a step back, it's fascinating because these two guys changed the entire NBA less than a month ago. Less than a month ago, they were trying to win the Eastern Conference. They were, tied together in this marriage that defined a huge section of their careers. And here they are just a couple of weeks later acting as if they don't know each other. Like, there's no doubt to me that that there is going to be a rift here and a divide that is probably going to, linger for many years into the future.
So you heard what Brian Windhorst had to say there. Basically, he said that these two guys didn't even interact with one another. And as he was kind of giving that report, it reminded me of the time Shaq and Kobe had their falling out. If you guys remember, a lot of people were saying that Kobe Bryant ran Shaq out of LA. Ultimately, he ended up being traded to the Miami Heat to go play with Dwayne Wade and those guys. And the very first game, the very, very, very first game that we got to see Shaq return to LA to face Kobe Bryant in the tip-off leading off to the game, Shaq and Kobe didn't greet each other. Shaq greeted every other player, and I think they just walked past each other and the game started. So it wasn't the first time I've seen something like that. To harp back to what Brian Windhorst was saying about, how they were within feet of each other and they didn't interact with each other. So that's not the first time I've seen something like that. But as it pertains to this particular situation here, I think that if we look at it from Kevin Durant's standpoint, and this is just somebody looking at this situation from afar, I don't know KD, I don't know anyone close to him. I'm just looking at it like the rest of you guys. If you listen to what KD said in the presser when he was first introduced as a Phoenix Sun, he lamented the fact that he wished that the Brooklyn Nets would have been able to see that season through. He wanted them to stick together as a group, play it out, and see where all of the chips would fall. And he said he was disappointed that he didn't get an opportunity to finish off what they started. So it would only be natural that he would kind of hold some feeling, harbor some negative feelings towards Kyrie, given the fact that, once Kyrie Irving decided that he no longer wanted to be there, that was it. There was no, okay, let's go out there and compete for a championship. It just wasn't going to happen. So you can understand that from Kevin Durant's perspective. From the perspective of Kyrie Irving, I can also understand why Kyrie wanted to get the hell up out of there. It was an absolute mess. You had an owner that was throwing you under the bus whenever he had an opportunity. You had the organization who wasn't really respecting you. So if I'm Kyrie Irving, why would I want to be there just because for my friend? I mean, that's not enough. That's not enough because my peace of mind is at jeopardy here. So I can understand why Kyrie wanted to leave. To me, I just think that it was something that was probably bound to happen. And I think it's something that these guys are going to get over because I don't think it was nowhere near as messy as the breakup between Shaq and Kobe. But these are just my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about this report? And what do you think about in terms of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? Will they become cool again? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. And we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.